Okay, Ann, it's all yours. And you're on mute.
Yes, and now I'm on, you can see me as well. I hope.
Yep.
Let me just move I have my, oops, I wanted you to see my button, which says Mid-Atlantic Co-Housing on it. So I am the executive director of Mid-Atlantic Co-Housing, and I've been a co-housing advocate since 1988 when I discovered co-housing. I'll give you a little bit of history. Co-housing comes from, it comes out of Scandinavia, but the way, we often call it the old-fashioned community of the future. It's the way that people always lived in small groups of folks, either by family or by tribe or by some affiliation, but very small groups of people who have a common aspiration together. So out of Scandinavia came this idea of co-housing, and it came mostly from the feeling that parents had. You know, we think of ourselves Americans as what do they call it, soccer moms. You know, they're driving their kids everywhere, right? Always to all these various activities. Well, they do the same thing in Scandinavia too. They do the same thing, and so out of this came this idea. Well, what if we could create a situation in which our children actually lived with the kids that they play with? You know, what if we had families that could help each other grow a community and provide a forum for our children to learn and to grow? And so that's how it came about. And it was mostly done by families, but now co-housing is all over the world. We have about 185 communities built here in the US in what I would call the classic co-housing model, which is small scale, village like communities that cluster their housing around a community building that we call a common house. And in the common house are the resources that the community wants to have together. And there's always a dining room and a kitchen. And that's because co-housers share meals on a voluntary basis throughout the year, some as few as once a month and some as every night, 365 days a year. Um, but the idea of co-housing is to create these clustered groups of houses so that you get to see each other and you get to understand who your neighbors are. Like, I lived in a community one time, it was drop dead gorgeous, absolutely drop dead gorgeous. But until I got a dog and was out in the community, I never knew any of my neighbors. In fact, one time when I was walking the dog, I ran into a neighbor who said, "Oh, you must be new here." And "How long have you lived here?" And I said, "6 years." And her mouth dropped open. She said, "6 years?" She lived right next door to me, and she had never seen me because I wasn't out in the neighborhood, and the neighborhood was geared toward maximum privacy. So in co-housing, we try to combine privacy with collaborative living. So co-housing is formulated to have communal spaces such as a green or a playground or a fountain or something, third space where people can gather together, the common house being the one heartbeat of the community. And the common house will contain things, as I said, a minimum always of a dining room and a kitchen for meals, but it can contain things like our community contains a living room, a children's playroom. We're intergenerational, by the way. A women children's playroom. We have a game room. We have a music room. We have a tween room. We have an office. We have a number of things within our common house so that people don't have to have those things in their homes. So instead of having a second bedroom to put your bicycle in that you ride once or twice or three times a week, um, you don't need to do that because we have an exercise room. So you can have a smaller facility for your own, reducing your housing cost and creating a smaller facility for taxes and for maintenance, while having all of the amenities that you want to have within your home. Now, in our case, we used to have a hot tub. We don't have that anymore because the maintenance on that was just too difficult. I should also say that co-housing differs from many other kinds of communities because the work of the community is done by the members. We have a board of directors. We're just a condo, just legally and financially, just a condominium. That's it. We have a board of directors, but the board of directors um, only works at the behest of the community. So the board of directors makes no decision that the community has not agreed on, and we work by consensus, and that's a whole other story. We can do that on another long weekend. We can talk about that, but we work by consensus, and what this means is we meet regularly. We have teams. We carry out all the work in our community. We do everything except major electrical and plumbing and things like that, where we really have to hire licensed people to do the work. We handle all of that. The so what does this mean in terms of actually creating the community? It means that we interact with each other all the time. I know I have 64 neighbors, adult neighbors. I have 15 children. We've got probably 10 dogs now, and I don't know, way too many cats. And I know all of my neighbors, their first and last names. I know their children. I know some of them, they're extended families. These are people I've gotten to know over the years. And we have, this means that we have strong relationships. And so in terms of aging in place, we are able to offer people, to keep people in their homes a longer time than if they were living on their own. So I'll just take my personal issue is so I was diagnosed with MS, 40 years ago, and I've gotten to where I'm a wheelchair rider, and I have limited amounts of energy. And if it weren't for my community, I mean, I could live absolutely on my own. I could do that. But it would be so hard. I would spend all of my life just maintaining myself, getting my groceries. Getting groceries would be an all-day experience for me. I would be out of energy by the time I finished with that. So I forgot to say that I'm 75. And so my community is able to extend my participation in the community by assisting me with small things like going to the CVS, just like the things that you all do, that you were talking about. Transportation if I need it, picking up something at the store, um, whatever the things, just company, come over and have a cup of tea, whatever those things are. Now, I provide, because we are handle all of uh, the work within our community. What I provide is I do a lot of telephone work. I do an awful lot of organizing. I do an awful lot of well, I'm on the resale and rental pod. We call our teams pods here. And I'm on that resale and rental pod. So I help with all the resales in the community when we have, or rentals in the communities when we have them. And so that's my contribution back into the community. So it's a give and take, but it allows our seniors here, even when I should say, we can keep people in their homes longer, as long as um, as long as the condition is one that we can handle. When we come up to folks who have serious dementia, which we have had, people with dementia, they have to move to a facility that is more able to handle their specific needs. But the nice thing about it is that people from the community still go visit them in the wherever facility they're in. And I've done that. And we've also brought people back from the facility to participate in events that are going on here. And so we continue the relationship over the lifespan of the person's life. We just continue that relationship. We're getting ready for our 25th anniversary, and we are we get we invite all of our former members to come. And you notice that I talk about us being members as opposed to being residents here, because we are members of this organization, Tacoma Village. Oh, and I think I just saw something pop up about where are we located. We're in Washington, D.C., right at the Washington's like a diamond, and we're right at the top of the diamond, almost 2 blocks from Maryland. So still in D.C.
What's
Um,
your community called?
oh, it's Tacoma Village Co-housing. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, Tacoma Village Co-housing. And we're part, let's see, I just want to talk about another thing about the aging in place and aging in community. So our one of the things that's great about the villages is that they have been able to keep people in their homes for longer. That is, and this is a bigger picture thing, 30,000 foot view, but that means that the dependence on programs to house and care for people who are aging is reduced on economically for people. And that's really seriously important as we are aging very quickly here. The boomers are still coming, and we got people, we've got another big group of people behind us. We're aging and we're getting older and we need facilities, and it's really hard to find facilities. I mean, this is a bigger problem than just co-housing can look at, but it's one of the great things that the villages have done. And so what I was going to say about this was, while we can keep people as long as possible in their homes, and in my case, just using me again, I have a caregiver now because I need assistance. So my neighbors don't have to provide any personal care for me, but they provide a lot of extraneous care that my caregiver can do. Like I said, going to the grocery store. The reason to really consider co-housing, I think, we do basically what you all are doing, but we do it in a more confined area. We do it in a smaller village as opposed to a larger village. And the other thing is that sometimes people's homes can't be retrofitted to keep them in their homes. And in co-housing, when you're building, especially all the new built, is everything is ADA compliant. And my home is pretty much ADA compliant from the beginning. In our community at Tacoma Village in Northwest Washington, D.C., we have 43 homes, and all but, I think, 6 or 8 of the homes are fully visitable. So every home on the first floor, whether it's a flat, which is 1 floor, or a townhouse, 2 floors, everyone has a bathroom on the first floor. So anyone can visit anyone and have access to an accessible bathroom. So that makes life visitable. Um, so let's see. I think in terms of other things, in terms of aging, are you were talking about the kinds of, I was listening to that list of things um, that were said at the beginning about all the activities you were having. That is so important for people who are aging, is to have that social interaction. Well, we have the opposite problem here, which is my dance card is always full. I have more stuff to do than I can accomplish, because there's always activities going on. We have meals, we have events, we have book groups, we have, we're just somebody's always doing something. But the greatest thing about it is it's all generated from the membership. It doesn't come from a social director, it comes from the members themselves. And so we've had book clubs come and go. We have TV watch of people who watch, I mean, when there's a world soccer championship, we've got people who are just, devoted to watching that. We have all kinds of game nights. We have children, so we have a lot of activities for kids as well. Now, the biggest growing part of co-housing is the senior co-housing. This is the fastest growing part of it. We see many, many, many more co-housing communities that are senior only. And so this is age 62 and up. I think there's some that are 55 plus, but usually 62 and up. And we've got, I don't know, about 30 of those, maybe something like that throughout the US. Um, and you know, we're going to see how those work out, because one of the issues is the biggest issue that I'm interested in, that I've been interested in a long time, is, you know, um, we have the stages of aging that are sometimes referred to as the go-go stage, when you're retired and you're traveling and you know, you're hiking and you're, you know, opening up a bed and breakfast, or you're doing your second career job, whatever that is. That's the go-go stage. And then you got the slow go stage. You're kind of winding down a little bit, which is where I am. And then you get into the no-go stage, and you get in the part that I'm interested in, is the part between the um the the end. Let's see, it's the transition from the no-go stage into passing into your death. And you know, we have death cafes, which I'm sure you've heard of. We have death doulas. You know, death is a big industry now. And but we don't have anything that really concerns that final stage between that little transition stage between when you are unable to really care for yourself and the time that you transition into your death. And that's the part that I'm particularly interested in. And if co-housing can solve that, I think we can solve an awful lot of the issues that are facing seniors now as we age in place, or as I say, age in place in community. And I don't know, maybe it's a good time to take questions now. Is there
Yep. We've
issues?
got a number of questions. One of them is, are there co-housing communities that are built around shared interests?
Yes, absolutely. We have some that are built on religious interests. We have a moshav that's opening in California in the next year. We have we have some farming communities, several of those. We have one that's a Christmas tree farm. That's part of their income there. And so we have a few of those, yes.
Okay. And does each person in one of these communities have their own apartment?
Yeah, we're just a condominium. That's it. I mean,
Okay.
we're fully, you know, you have your kitchen, you have a kitchen, you have everything you would find in in any condominium. We look like a
Okay.
condo.
Okay. Comment here from somebody who said they visited a co-housing community called Shepherd Village in
Oh yes.
Shepherdstown, West
Yeah.
Virginia.
Yeah.
And they posted a link to that.
Mm-hmm. Very beautiful community.
And another question, where can people learn about the location of co-housing around the DMV or in other parts of the country? And
Sure.
somebody posted a link to cohousing.org.
You can go to cohousing.org, but you can also go to midatlanticcohousing.org, midatlanticcohousing.org, and you can see all of the communities that are within the Mid-Atlantic Co-housing Regional Group, which is the group that I head up.
And is there any additional fee, monthly fee for belonging to a co-housing community? Or is it just,
No,
you
it's
bought
just
your condo and you pay the condo fee and
pay the
you're
condo
good to
fee. I
go?
mean, and different people have different communities do the things differently. I mean, one of the great things about being in co-housing is the group itself can make up, um, within the legal parameters of condominiums or co-ops, they can make up how they want to split their fees, for instance. So here usually the way the condos do it generally is they do it by square footage. Here we do it a little differently. Half of our condo fee is made up of square footage of each unit, and the other half is made up of um, is an equal share. And so we have a little bit different way that we assign our condo fees, and different communities just do it differently. But you can, we have pet regulations. We have, we discuss all this stuff, pet policies, pets, parenting, and policies are the three big issues in co-housing that we're constantly hammering out and reinventing as we grow. That's the other thing. And, you know, our bylaws are 56 pages, something like that, 56 pages. And a condominium's bylaws are sometimes, a foot in something thick because they regulate everything from the size of your mailbox to your, the keyhole or, what you can put on for decorations, what color you can have your door, what the paint that you can use. They regulate all that. But in co-housing, it actually comes from the Danish word befællesskaber, which translates as living community. So over time, and we were experiencing this here now, is that in 25 years, we're now down to about 42% founders. So it means we have a lot of new blood coming in, a lot of new people. And now we have to grow. We're changing our bylaws. We're changing to meet the needs of the people who are here now. And that's the great thing. We're not fixed in time in terms of being green and sustainable. The difference is, I think, is in community. Buildings are green and are green, but only communities can be sustainable. And what that means is that over time, we were way up at the top in terms of being green and sustainable when we moved in here. And we have become greener and more sustainable as we have lived here, because that's part of our value system, is to create more environmentally friendly ways in which we live. And so that comes from the community. Whereas in a regular condo, I think that's very difficult for a regular condominium, to have that conversation in a group of people. It's a very difficult one to do. So.
Okay, next question is how is co-housing different from what we normally think of as a 55 plus community?
Well, I think just as what I said was, it's in the organization itself. First of all, the members run the organization, not a board of directors. The second one is we handle all of the work if we're not doing it ourselves, because I don't bang any hammers personally. I don't do that. But I do assist with organizing things to get done on our work days. We have work days together. We have meals together on a voluntary basis. You don't have to come to meals. And the biggest thing is that it's oriented from the ground up as opposed from the top down. And we don't have, committees interact with each other. So we don't have one committee that overrides everybody else. We don't do that here. Committees have to teams, we call them teams, have to interact with each other. So
Okay, next question is what are the steps to establish a new co-housing community?
yes, well, one of my favorite questions, because as you know, we're just in a housing crisis in general. And in the DC area, it's really difficult so my condominium we moved in 2020. Um, so we came in, I mean, we just hit the market exactly right. We were 75% affordable when we moved in. Um, we got the best value for the amount of money we put into the community. And we also had the developer. So the members, the group, you have to have a group together that wants to do this. That's the first thing. And you try to find a developer who's willing to work with you to develop a co-housing community, and you have to have a site. So those three things. Now, almost all of the co-housing communities, the 185 that are in existence, almost all of them were done by the community members themselves. This meant they maxed out their credit cards, they rated their children's college funds, they borrowed money, they did whatever. And most of the model right now is 30% of the money, the funding for the pre-development cost, which is the most risky money that a developer has to come from the community. So it means raising millions of dollars. We didn't have that issue here because we had a developer that just did a straight development model with us. So I think that the steps are find a group of people who want to do this, um, identify a developer, and then you have to identify a site. And those are the three big things that have to get done. And I would say just start talking to each other. You know, it comes over having coffee with each other and deciding, you know, what kind of community do I, where do I want to spend the next 10, I mean, 75, where do I want to spend the next 10 years of my life? You know, do I want to spend it, you know, in a senior only community? Do I want to spend it in a like my mother was in a retirement community and she hated it because they had all these facilities and they had all these activities and they did everything, but she wasn't in charge of anything when she was there. Somebody else made decisions for her and she really hated that. Um, and I wouldn't like it either. You know, I think that I want to be in a community where I have some say in it. Let's see. Yeah, I think that covers that. So
Okay. Is there a waiting list to get into your community?
we don't have a waiting list. We have a notification list, and I can tell you that the notification list we have is about 250 people on it. And we have not we you know we turn over a house every year, maybe. So we only have 43 households. So the biggest thing is I know it's about creating a community in this area. So I remember where I was going with this. So to do a classic model like what we have here at Tacoma Village, finding a developer, finding a group, putting the whole thing together, I find that's really difficult because developers can make a whole lot more money on building high-end condominiums and selling them for outrageous amounts of money and not have as much interaction with a group of people. They're just marketing to one demographic. That's it. Whereas co-housing is marketing to a group of people who have many, many desires. It's like our developer, Don, said, I've done custom housing and I've done production housing, but I've never done production custom housing because what you end up with in community is people have different things that they want in the community. And so the developer has to be aware of the desires of the community. And let's see, so I think that that's an impediment, trying to raise the money, trying to find a developer and trying to find a site. So one of the things that we are exploring within Mid-Atlantic co-housing and within the whole co-housing movement now is looking at other ways of collaborative living. And a lot of co-housing has now springing up where people buy housing on a block and they just begin by purchasing housing as they come up on a block. It's a longer timeline, but you can start right away. You can You don't have to raise a significant amount of money. You just have to have your own mortgage. And one of the most successful ones I know was in California, where they started with just two duplexes next door to each other, and they expanded to 10. They just ended up with 10 houses around them, and ended up tearing down the fences and made a community. I mean, you can't tell where the boundary lines are anymore. I've been there a couple of times, and I have to say it's just absolutely beautiful what they've done. So you would never know where the actual boundary lines are. And I think that's one option to do it. And another option is to look at other types of collaborative living, like um, my house, our house, where people co-own things together, or looking at models in co-housing where you have shared housing um, that brings down the cost. So you would have two people sharing a home, but they would each have a suite of rooms on their own, and they would share the kitchen and the living room and maybe some other facilities in the home. But the housing prices in DC, it's just, it's sort of ridiculous. So it's difficult. It's a difficult development here, but I think that there are some creative ways to deal with it. And I noticed that there are, I'll tell you another thing. If you all won't want to do this because you're in Arlington, but if you wanted to, there have been actually a couple of starts on co-housing in Arlington, and there's actually a developer who's working in there that I can actually put you in touch with, who has been trying to get co-housing started in Alexandria, but it's really, really expensive. This is like $600, $800 a square foot. These are one bedroom houses that are starting at, $680,000. It's wild. So I think that looking at some of these other collaborative models is a better way to go. Yeah.
Okay, next question is what's included in your condo fees and how are
Mhm.
the communal dinners paid for?
So the what's included in our condo fee is gas, water, internet service, and I think and then I'll call all as a normal condominium would have, like all the residential grounds and the condominium insurance, all of the stuff that a normal condo would pay for. So that's included in ours. So I pay electric. We're also geothermal heating and cooling here. So my house is 984 square feet. It's a two-bedroom flat, and my electric bill in the heat of the summer has been about $80, something like that. And my house runs all day long. I have an office here, so I've got every kind of machine going all the time, and that's very inexpensive for me. I'm also exposed. My unit is very different from everybody else's. I'm exposed on 5 of 6 sides, so I'm getting weather from all different areas. And my neighbor downstairs who's on the second floor, her electric bill is $9 a month because she's on the second floor and is encased, you know, all over. So she was really upset that her electric bill went from $8 to $9 a month.
And how are the group dinners paid for?
How the group dinners are. Okay, so now we've had several experiences with group dinners. So right now, um, the dinners are we just have a sign up system. The host of the dinner decides how many people they want to have, like whether it's 10 or 50 or whatever it is, they decide that, and they decide on the budget, and then the people who sign up pay whatever that share is, and it goes into um like a Google Doc, something like that, and once a month you get a bill.
Okay. Next question is how many co-housing communities are there in Northern Virginia And you said there was a developer working on Arlington. Um, are there others in Alexandria or Fairfax?
Not that I know of right now. There is one, is like I said, been trying to get a hold of, trying to get a site in Alexandria for quite a while. Um, but in Northern Virginia, actually, there are a few. There's Blueberry Hill in Vienna, Virginia. Um, let's see. Uh,
We've
well,
heard about the,
that would be no, that would be northern. You're talking about Northern Virginia. You're talking about close
yeah,
in, right? Because the others
yeah.
are farther, much farther afield.
Well, we did have somebody from the railroad houses in Falls Church come and talk
Yes,
to us.
and was that my business partner by the chance?
Uh, what's your partner's name?
Um, you got it. Talk about aging. Uh, Jack Wilburn.
Might have been.
Yeah, Jack. That sound because he's the one that developed that. He and his partner, Butts Wilburn.
Next question is what is the average price for a unit in your community and what size are they? It sounds like they're all over the place, right?
Well, our community has 17 floor plans. And so, but they're often just by a foot or two different in it. And they run from about 640 square feet for a one bedroom den up to, I think our largest one is about 1,800 square feet, which is far below the national average of 2,500 square feet. So you have smaller units, but you have this big common house where you get all kinds of other facilities for your use.
Next
And
question.
the cost, I will say, um, it's market rate. That's what it is.
Mhm.
So um, this is not what I say is people say, what is the what's is it affordable housing? And I say, well, if you got the money, it's always affordable. But the problem is, is that the prices of housing is just completely insane. It's just off the, it's just crazy. So
Are there any limitations when you want to leave and sell the condo?
nope, this is a condominium is we're a condo. It's fee simple ownership. You own your condo. You can sell it in some communities. They just use real estate agents and they sell. Now here we have a resale and rental program because in co-housing, there are three entities that are important. There's the seller, and then there's the buyer, and then there's the community. And the community, we want to make sure that we maintain the values and the structure of co-housing. So we launch a program where we have a really intensive program for helping people get to know co-housing and get to know Tacoma Village. And these are both social things that we ask people to participate in and come to meetings, get to know us, understand, come to a work day. We have work days once a month and we ask people to come to those. We ask people to participate with us, and we ask people to actually do work here because when we have a party, when we have any kind of social event, anything that we do here, the people who are the janitors are us. We're the ones that clean up after this stuff. So if you want to live here, participation is really important to do this. We're a block and a half from the metro, so anybody would like to live here. It'd be terrific. We're a block and a half from Tacoma Park, Maryland, which is a nice little place to go and eat and have a little fun. Um, and so we don't need we're looking for people who are interested in fostering a sense of community and relationship. That's what we're interested in.
Do you talk to people about these things before they buy a place or
Oh, absolutely. We start so we have 4 times a year, we have tours here. Two of them are in the winter are by Zoom, and two of them are face-to-face, in-person tours. And we do a very good job of educating people about co-housing, Tacoma Village, expectations, etc. So we don't want people getting surprised. Oh, I didn't realize there's a work requirement here. We do have a work expectation rather of 6 hours a month for each individual, not per household, but each individual.
do you ever get people who want to buy and you talk to them about these things and kind of walk away and look at each other, go, this is not going to be a good fit?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is why we ask people to come to meetings because we meet once a month and we also meet in teams once or twice a month as well. And if you're on multiple teams, then you're meeting quite frequently. And I've had people literally in a membership meeting stand up at halftime and say, this is interesting and it's great, but it's not for us, and leave. And that's exactly what we want. We want people to we want them to know what they're getting into. And I say that that is a program that is working well. And we've had other people come and, everybody wants community, and we kind of like that. Everybody has a feeling of wanting to know their neighbors and stuff like that. But it's a, it's I would say that one of the co-founders of co-housing, Charles Durrett, says it's easy to live in co-housing. Well, it's not easy to live in co-housing. It's really tough in a lot of ways. It requires a lot of personal giving and a lot of learning and a lot of being willing to stretch yourself. But it is so powerful. It is such an incredible way of living. It is just, I know all of my neighbors. I can count on all of my neighbors to assist me if I need something. This is it's work, but it's joyful work. It's exciting work. It's getting to know my neighbors. I mean, there are things I find out about my neighbors that I've lived with some people for years and find out that they are antique coin collectors. How did that ever, I would never have come up had that conversation had I not been on a work day with this person. And just find out, oh, what kind of hobbies do you have? So just stuff like that. It's just enriches the relationship. And I think in terms of aging in place, it's the relationship that carries over as we are all getting, I mean, I've been here 25 years. I was 50 when I moved into this place, and now I'm 75. And a lot of my support comes from relationships built over time, layer by layer by layer by layer.
I have a question here. What was the name of the developer who's trying to do co-housing in Arlington?
Yes, let me just get his name for you. It's Charlie um, Juris. Charlie Juris. Here, I can put it in the chat for you.
Okay.
Um, I haven't talked to him in a little while, but you can say that you got his name from me. You can just drop my name. It's fine. My computer is being very funky here. Here we go. Can ask him what he's up to. That's his cell phone.
Got it. Thanks. Next question is, what's the average age of people in your community, and are most of them married or single?
Well, that's interesting. We haven't done the demographics in a while since we've had a lot of changes in the last couple of years. but we're actually, since we're intergenerational, we actually are pretty well balanced. I'd say the youngest people in our community are in their mid 30s. And then it goes all the way. I think our eldest member now is 92. And we're a pretty big mix of families and singles.
Okay. And plenty of dogs and cats, it sounds like.
Way too many cats, which are all
Uh,
indoors now. We only have one grandfathered outdoor cat. So,
all right. Next comment, just echoing what you've already talked about. There's no formal approval process from the board before somebody's allowed to buy a condo. It's just them dealing with the seller and you guys explaining exactly what they're getting into.
well, ours is a little bit, we don't approve. First of all, the seller can sell. I mean, this is the law. You own your house, you can sell to whomever you wish. But we hope that by providing education and information both to the seller and to the buyer, that we can construct an environment in which we are able to provide buyers who would meet some of the expectations that we have uh, in terms of in terms of purchasing a home here. We do have we have a list of expectations that we would like people to do. For instance, come to a meeting, go to a team meeting, come to a work day if possible, and a couple of other things. They're minor things. And we do keep track of those so that when a seller has somebody they want to sell to, can get that list and say, oh, look, here's Jane Doe, and she has fulfilled all of these requirements here, and I think this is a good person to sell to. And so we hope that they will choose from that list. And then the board just ratifies that. Uh, they don't actually have the ability to deny the sale, but they just kind of rubber stamp that, okay, yes, this person has fulfilled all of these requirements. Now, other communities have none of this. You know, people just buy and sell like they do normal, regular real estate. It's a little risky that way. In fact, one of the other communities that I helped start, that I actually worked on, has done that. And they've just had a few people who have said, oh, all of this is really nice. It's terrific. I thank you for introducing me to this way of living, and I'm not interested in participating in any of this.
Hmm.
I'm just close to the metro. So you can do that.
When is your next in-person tour?
Well, not until next year. Let me think. Our next, do we have another in-person tour? We might have one in September. I think, yes, we have one in September coming up. And the best way you can learn about that is to go to tacomavillage.org, tacomavillage.org, and actually sign up for our notification list. I think you can go to, you'll see a repeating thing on the website that'll say guide for prospective residents. You can click on that and you can sign up for our notification list, and you'll be notified of the next tour. Or alternately, you can go to Washington, D.C. area co-housing meetup. Let me put that in the chat. Here it'll be
Yeah, and
easier.
somebody also wanted you to, if you could spell
Yeah,
out your website.
tacomavillage.org. And then um, The Washington, D.C. area co-housing meetup has every kind of co-housing thing on it that you could possibly want. We have about 2,500 members on that meetup. So if you just Google Washington, D.C. area co-housing meetup, that'll take you to the site and you can just scroll through and see the number of open houses or um, Zoom meetings, whatever. They're just a bunch of different activities there. If you go to cohousing.org, which was the one that somebody else posted earlier, you'll see that they're just, there's more than you ever wanted to know. What's the joke about penguins? The guy who wrote a article on penguins or an essay on penguins and ended it by saying, this is as much as I ever want to know about penguins. And that's kind of the way kind of with co-housing, it's just amazing how much information you can get from cohousing.org, more than you could possibly take in at any one time.
You talked about people in other communities
Mhm.
deciding that the co-housing aspect of it didn't really appeal to them. Have you ever had that in your community?
Oh yeah, we have, yes, absolutely. People, like I said, people come in to co-housing. When you say something like, do you want to live in community? That means the spread is from you're my new neighbor to this is my new family, and you've got all of this in between. And people come in with a different idea about what it means to live in community. And some people, it's it's a challenge when you're living with 64 other people that have 90 different ideas from what you have. And it's a little bit of a challenge. And people don't stay long if they really are not really, if they're having problems here, they don't stay too long.
Okay, I don't see any additional questions. So if anybody's got comments or questions, now's the time to put them in.
Let me just tell you a little bit about Mid-Atlantic Co-Housing, since I'm the executive director of that, is that we're about 15 co-housing communities within a 2-hour radius of Washington, D.C. But actually, we have little permeable boundaries because we're actually up in Newark, Delaware. We have a member community there. And somebody had mentioned Shepherd Village. We have communities that are farther afield from the Washington, D.C. area, the DMV. We had a group that is, I think they're still going to try to start something in Baltimore, which would be the ideal place to be doing co-housing or any kind of housing, because housing is available there. There's housing stock available to start a community there. And so we're really far ranging within our Mid-Atlantic area. And there are other co-housing groups who are not part of Mid-Atlantic co-housing as well. And you can find those by if you go to cohousing.org and look for the directory, you can look by state. And you can see everything in Virginia, you can see everything in Maryland, and DC, you'll just have one, but you can see things by state.
So Anne, I was just going to ask you, is the co-housing model then, since you said it's around the country, is the model pretty much the same then, whether you live in Virginia or whether you live in Wisconsin?
Well, pretty much the model is the same, but as with everything, it's the people, who make up the community that are different. And they're organized around almost all of them are organized around some environmental reason. Either they want sustainability or they want greener living or something like that. But the model itself, which is there are 4 or 6 six attributes, which are it's created by the members. It combines, it has what's called like new urbanist um, techniques, architectural techniques that are designed to increase the feeling of community. So doors that look onto each other, they're clustered, it's small, so uh, that's one. It's run by the members themselves, and they have a lot of common facilities, like a lot. And then the other two that were added were the purposeful separation of the car, because in our culture, our cars have their own bedrooms. We call them garages, they have their own bedrooms. But we don't have that in co-housing. Cars are relegated to the periphery of the community, leaving the interior of the community completely safe for people, to kids, people, you don't have to worry about telling your kid to go play in the street, or having a senior walking across the green, because there are no cars in the center of the community, and no parking lots in the center of the community. They're all relegated to the outdoors. And then the last one is some collaborative form of decision making, mostly consensus, but there are other forms of decision making, but a collaborative form.
And how many people
So that,
live where you are?
well, I have 65 adults, and I think we have 15 children, and as I said, 10 dogs and too many cats, but lots of cats. And I think I gave the age ranges already. And, we've been here a long time, 25 years. That's a long time to be in one place for people, including my mother, who said, "You'll never get this built. It'll never happen." So 25 years later, we're still never happening now. And this is not the oldest community in the US, is about 35 years old. And I think the oldest ones in Scandinavia are coming up on 40 or 45 years or older now.
Wow. Okay.
So,
Well, it's 11:02, so I guess we are finished with the coffee and conversation today. Ann Zabaldo, thank you so much for your presentation. This was very helpful, and maybe will stimulate interest from folks who were on the listening
oh,
to
I
the
hope
program
so.
today.
And I hope that you give Charlie a call and see what he's up to, see what he's got going there. And you can always, let me put my contact info in here, so that if you want to get in touch with me, I will be happy to chat with you about getting co-housing started. Oops. All right, Ann Zabaldo.
Okay. So next week, thank you, Ann, for putting your telephone number in there. And next week, we'll be learning about Stay Home, Shop Smart, Online Grocery Shopping 101 with Jenny Ulrod, who is the Executive Director of Home Care and Goodwin Living at Home with Goodwin House Home Care. So another important aspect of living for older adults. So be sure and tune in, and have a good week and stay cool.